Our next storyteller, Barbara Green, is also a former teacher. I think we've got a group of teachers on
Clean sweep, I think.
right here tonight. So Barbara.
I am going to start with being brought up in a home with great parents. So my first gift was from God. You never know who you're going to get for parents. So I had some good ones. And we were always taught to share with our sisters. There were 5 of us. And hospitality. We didn't have a lot, but I remember a little girl that was a friend of mine. Her mom was a single mom. Back then, that was just unheard of. She didn't have very much, and she often had dinner with us. I also remember Lenten and Christmas Advent little folders that you would put coins in. And we were learning that though we didn't have a lot, we still had more than some other people. So we were going to share. I remember my first apartment. I lived in a very tall building in Chicago. In fact, later, Jesse's daughter lived in the same building, not at the same time. People on the corner apartment was a woman who had lost her son in World War II. And she was really very bitter, you know, but I used to talk to her all the time. So it came to be Christmas time, and I think because I was warm to her and I smiled at her, she gave me one of her Christmas pins that was like a family heirloom. I still have it today. It was like a little Christmas tree. And my next experience with generosity, I've been musical for a long, long time. I was in a different apartment by this time, and we used to have a Sing It Along Messiah in Chicago at Orchestra Hall. So there was a woman in the building. She was a widow, and she was having to downsize into a smaller apartment. Well, she had an apartment grand piano. Oh. She knew that I could play and that I loved music, and I asked her, she asked me if I would take her piano, and I said, oh gosh, I'll pay you for it. She only asked $300 for it. And I brought it with me to Sacramento. I said, I have no other furniture in my life. I'm always going to have that piano. That was really a wonderful gift. In 1984, I moved to San Francisco. I was trying to do something exciting. I had always lived in Chicago. I went to school there. I never really went away to college. So a friend of mine was living there, and neither of us had a lot of money, but needed a loan. And I think I had maybe $300, so I gave $200 to that person. And then I decided, since things weren't working out, I would go back to Chicago. And I had only taken a leave of absence from my teaching job, so I was able to get right back in. Well, a week later, we got a bonus check. And it was like, you know, whatever I had given out just came right back to me. And I didn't have to struggle. Let's see. Oh, in 1987, my aunt passed away. And I couldn't come at the time that she passed away because I was having surgery. And I did move here in 1988, and I found that she had set me up to take over her house. And I'm in that house today. Sometimes I look around and I say, Auntie, I hope I'm being a good custodian to your blessing. And I did a lot of growing up, being in this house and taking the responsibility of having a home. More recent times, I remember talking, when I joined the choir, talking about a Christmas program at my school. And Fran was in the choir at the time, and I said, oh, you know, that sweater looks pretty good. Maybe I could borrow it. Well, you know, she's kind of small. So what she did was say, well, Barb, I don't think you can wear this sweater. And I said, well, okay, that's all right. Well, the next couple of days, she went home, I didn't realize she was doing this. She sewed up a beautiful little vest, and it was a little Christmas vest, and she gave it to me. I thought that was so generous. I still have it today. And then more recently, I think I was talking about liking chocolate. And Jeannie, I don't know if she remembers, she did this last year. She somehow had some powdered chocolate that she had ground up herself, and it didn't have a lot of bad stuff in it. No salt and all that that's in the store chocolate. And I enjoyed making myself hot chocolate for several nights. As I've grown and learned that you don't always have to have something material or money to be generous. And so I'm learning to be generous with my smile, with my time, and because my dad had cancer, I try to, give to those organizations that support research. And I think about the fact that I always have clothing, food, and shelter. And so those organizations that support people like Salvation Army and Habitat for Humanity and the Sacramento Food Closet, I always try to give to them. One little story, when I was about 5 or so, and living in this household of learning to be generous and to share, I wanted a little pet, but Mom said, no, you can't have one. So I found a neighborhood cat. And I brought the cat into the house, and it went under the couch, and my mother, of course, gave me a little generous spanking for bringing it. A stray cat. And I remember one other time there was we called them hobos in those days, people that were homeless and they would ride the trains and so forth. So she had taught us to share our, what we had. So I opened the door one day and this man was standing there saying he would like a little food. Well, it scared Mom to death, of course. And we had to shut the door, and she taught me, don't you ever open that door again. But all along, I have learned that you feel better when you share. It lifts your heart up when you realize you've done something good for somebody or made them feel better or given them something that they needed. And I think God has his hands on all of it, because just as I got money without knowing, after I had lent a friend money that I couldn't really afford to do, there's always a gift waiting for you, and it's like it's a circle. It goes around.